Good?
Let's do it.
Cool. Hey, buddy.
But I'm not Greg.
Oh, shit. Come on, guys.
Jeremy always does that.
No.
Michael.
Standard issue.
Standard.
Standard spelling.
That looks pink.
Oh shit.
No, it's okay. Keep
It's
going.
okay. Keep going.
I'm totally
Can't stop
cool
now.
with pink. I'm
Can't
totally
stop now.
cool with pink.
MICH.
AEL.
Is it gonna cut off?
Nope.
No, you're fine. Brilliant. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Paul.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, man.
Thanks for taking the time today. So, just kind of put this into a little bit of context. So, Jeremy and I we really want to make a point of sitting down and spending time with, people that have influenced, impacted, and spent a lot of time coming into, our shops over the last 5 years. Obviously, you've been, a pretty pivotal figure in doing that from the, day
I
one.
remember before you even had the name Birch.
Really? You remember that?
I think it was like the ground.
That is
or
correct,
something like
sir.
That.
That is correct.
And then I remember you kind of coming in and you're like, what are you thinking? Thinking about Birch.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I remember, the place next door and when going in there and building it. And
Yeah, man.
did you have Eugene come in and do a little plumbing for a little bit?
Had Eugene come in, do some plumbing. A mutual friend of ours came in. Eugene did some plumbing work, and it's funny. We've had so many friends from early on that have helped to very much form not just the culture that we're creating, but the different work that's been done in this space. And I think about you and the shelter and what you've created and how you've used our shop as a space for meeting and creating. I mean, talk to me a little bit about that process, because there's any number of places you can go in the city, and you've chosen. Obviously, there was a specific reason that you came to our space, and so I'm just curious as to what the actual space brought for you as far as your ability to create.
Well, it's interesting. So we started the Shelter. It's a theater company, pretty much at the same time you guys started Birch.
Yeah.
And for creatives in New York City, a big part of creating what you do is finding space to do that. We don't have an office, we don't have so a lot of those meetings, notes on scripts, brainstorming sessions, they need to take place at a place where everyone can get to. In New York, everyone lives in different places. Our apartments tend to be very small and not very welcoming. So, finding that spot that you can meet with friends and sit down for a while and do creative work is essential, because I think that's probably the biggest struggle for creative people in this town, is finding space to do it. And so, beyond having the best iced coffee in the city, bar none, it was always just a welcoming place to be. And, with the library upstairs back there, and there was just always nice sunlight and good people, and you could go see, some friendly faces. And it was a place to sit down and just kind of get the work done that we needed to. And it's been cool watching you guys grow over like the past 5-6 years as we've grown, and seeing, like that same kind of idea, about community kind of really being the forefront behind, your business and behind what we do. and just seeing that it happens in all different realms.
Yeah.
You know.
You talk about community. When the shelter was obviously created. Something that I've been kind of wanting to focus on the second season is intention, right? There's an intention, there's a reason. Like when we built Birch because we hated what we were doing and we needed something to shift, right? We needed to we wanted to work for ourselves. We wanted to create an environment where we could be impactful. So your intention behind the shelter was what?
So initially starting off, there was about 4 or 5 of us, actors, and as an actor, you're very much dependent on other people to actually do the craft that you do. I need a playwright to write me a play. I need a director to put me in it. I need some theater to put up a show, or somebody to make a movie to put me in it. And sitting around waiting for that phone to ring is lonely, tiresome, and draining.
Yeah.
And so it's important to figure out how to create ways to keep all of those juices flowing. So we put together the shelter, and what we do is we meet up every Sunday, and for us it's like family dinner. Sunday nights we meet up 6:30 to 10:30 every week, and people are constantly bringing in new scripts, and actors can work on auditions they might have for the week or sharpen up a monologue, and we always feel that like together we're going to build something a lot stronger than I would by myself in my log cabin alone trying to write some play. We bring in our pages each week, and for most of us what we found is we're far beyond just actors. A lot of us are writing now, a lot of us are directing now, and then we've created ways to put up work and showcase some of these people as well with some of our productions. But that Sunday thing is that place where we meet, we find strength through, sort of the community, and know we're not alone. We got supportive people with a bunch of other talented folks. And there we are. And it's also a place that anyone can go to. A lot of times where you have these like writers groups or actors groups, it's like they're all people that came out of Yale, or they're all Juilliard grads, or they're all from some sort of specific type of thing. And so it's like, where's a place that anyone can go? Mm-hmm. If you want to get better, if you want to grow, if you want to do some work, where can you go? And so we wanted to create that space. And then within that too, start creating really great original work here in the city.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that you've, in creating this space, you've also created content in that as well. Like you have the shelter does its own shows, and I've been to a couple of your shows, and they're fantastic. But what I think was awesome about your group in particular was your ability to bring in people who otherwise may not have been working, and or this is a new space for them to be creative, and without judgment, without you're able to put them on stage and say we're gonna explore this together. And I think I'd like to hear your thoughts on why you've chosen that model versus the we're gonna focus on these individuals who have this skill set that are working this way.
I think for one, it's a tough business to get into for a lot of folks, and it's like, who do you know and where did you know what I mean? So creating a opportunity for anyone to kind of come in, and we started off doing a lot of real short plays. So it'd be these series of like 6 to 8, short pieces all around some sort of theme, and it just kind of created lots of opportunity, and a lot of opportunity for people to try new things, to make mistakes. So we had people writing for the first time, we had people directing for the first time, we had people acting for the first time, and people starting to find that they're really good in a lot of these aspects. And then now we also do these reading series where that kind of happens, and people are putting up their first plays ever produced at some of those readings. First time they're getting seen in New York City, and then we invite more and more people. And what happens is people start to meet other people, and this is the beauty of what I've seen happen at the shelter more and more. Is like two people will come in that don't know each other. They come and start working here, and then these guys go off and collaborate and do something else amazing.
Yeah.
And so I think just kind of nourishing that sort of community. I see a lot of companies get very, we're our thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't want to let people out. We don't want to let people in.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like in independent theater, it's like, we got to be supporting everyone and start sending some more people. And I'm always telling folks, like, go get involved with some other companies or tell me what they're doing. How can we support you? How can we talk about your show? And so, like, yeah, that's kind of why and how.
Yeah. Now you grew up in Colorado, and what was your driver? Because you've been out here what, 9 years now? 8 years?
I've been out here since, I came out here in 2006.
Yeah.
I was in Los Angeles from January 98 till then.
Yeah.
I moved out of Colorado. I graduated high school at semester, and 2 weeks later I was out the door, and I was out to LA.
Yeah. And so, but what from LA to New York? I mean, obviously, big jump. Was it because of theater, or what was the kind of the force that brought you to New York?
To New York?
Yeah.
I think anyone that calls themselves an artist has to live in New York at some point. For how long, it's up to you.
Yeah.
But there's something that happens in this town that doesn't happen anywhere else. And that's not to say that there isn't amazing art in Los Angeles or in Colorado as well. I mean, some of the most creative people I know are in those places. But in New York, you just rub shoulders a lot more. I think I have this theory about the small housing here in New York forces people out. And it's like, so theater, for one, is a necessity in New York. Where it's not just like, I think in Los Angeles, it's like a luxury. Because people can have people over to their houses and they barbecue and they lay out back. Here we have to find places where we can go outside and meet and be with people.
Yeah.
And that's why the coffee shop is huge in New York. That's why the theater is huge. That's why live music is huge here in New York. You know, the parks are incredible here in New York because people need to find places where they can gather and get together because we don't do it at our homes, really. You know.
Yeah. No, I think that's completely with you. I think it's a very, very valid point.
But as far as New York, what I'd always wanted to come here and see the theaters, ride the subway, and just sort of
The nostalgic New York.
yeah, you know, I'd always thought this is where the real grit stuff happens, you know, and I think some of those days are gone to a certain degree, but it's I love this town.
Do you feel that it's helped to inspire your own creative process, help to evolve and foster what you're trying to create, not just in the shelter, but just you Mike personally?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But I imagine that would be true of anywhere I live, but I have been here for the last 8 years, and it has shaped me tremendously. The diversity here in New York, the people I get to meet and be around that are from all over the world. I tend to think that New York City is the center of the world. It just seems like whatever you want to do in whatever part of life you're pursuing things, it happens here. And there's such the European influence and the Caribbean influence and you know Hispanic influence and it's all just sort of meshed together, and you're riding the subways together, and people are just creating all the time. The art here is unbelievable, I think.
Is there a particular media that you yourself feel most drawn to right now? We've had the fortune to speak with a few different actors, and so I'm always curious. What is when you obviously calling yourself an actor, and when you're a child, you have an idea of what that's going to be. But is there a specific platform that you are most drawn to, that you like to do above anything else?
I mean, I love to perform, and certainly when you talk like film, theater, they each have different challenges, no doubt. I find that film ultimately ends up being the director and editor's meeting. They got final cut. They're going to say what that looks like. This video here,
Ben. I have no say in
I'm
this.
saying this
Ben's
right now.
going to make it look however he wants, and he doesn't. I don't even get to say anything. He doesn't even care.
But see, if we did this live
Right.
on a stage, you know what I mean? They could give us all the scripts they want to give us.
Right.
The director can direct me all he wants to direct. But on that night, in front of that audience, I got final cut.
Yeah.
And so when I'm directing a play, I hate that. But when I'm acting in a play, I love it.
Yeah.
And also, to answer your question, I'd say theater right now. And I think for a few reasons. There's that live factor, that one take that you get to just kind of really see this arc happen, but also because there's an audience.
Yeah.
And, again, about community and collaboration,
Yeah.
I just find that the audience is integral to this, to what we call art. You know what I mean? If I write a beautiful song and play it for nobody but myself, is that art? You know what I mean? I feel like it has to touch someone. And in the theater, you get to touch somebody right away.
Yeah.
And it's happening right there, and they're a part of what's going on. And so everyone in that theater that night is essential. And we talk about this at the shelter all the time. I mean, our audience, we try to take care of them as best we can and let them know that they're essential to what we do. Because without them, we're just masturbating.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's about touching folks.
Yeah.
And so.
I'm curious because, obviously anyone with an iPhone now can shoot. You can cut. I mean, the platforms that, when we were kids, 20 years ago, when that stuff was like just becoming available, but you had like giant cameras and things were so different. It was very, very difficult to get in front of a camera. Now, any jerk who wants to shoot can do it and put something together. I'm not talking about myself, because we're doing art. This is art. But anybody can do it, obviously. So when it comes to theater, my question is, where do you see theater? What role do you see theater playing over the next 10, 15, 20 years as these mediums become even more accessible to people? Where kids are growing up like art, like my kids. My kids. They don't know anything different than that a phone can also make film, right? And so that this is my way of creating artists, right, through this platform. This is like first and foremost. I'm just curious as to your thoughts.
Well,
on
so I mean, as far as film goes, I mean, it's super exciting because it opens the door for more voices, and people that maybe couldn't afford that big camera now can go out and shoot something, and so it just provides a platform for more voices, and we get to hear more perspectives as opposed to just the people that have the money and this and that. So I think on the film front, it's great. Because ultimately the craft is going to be the craft, and they will separate themselves. As good as the cameras are, if you don't have a good story and a good point of view and know how to do things, I mean, there are a lot of films came out this year. Right. Have you seen Birdman?
Yes.
I mean, the way that's shot is craft. Yeah. You know what I mean? Beyond. You know what I mean? You're like,
Birdman is probably my favorite film that I've seen in the last few years. It is brilliant.
Cinematically, it's the best movie I've seen. I go way back. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe Godfather. You know what I mean? Just like as far as cinematically. Yeah. You can talk about a story another day. But then as far as the theater, what you're talking about is this accessibility. It's almost the opposite. Because for theater, so these cameras are all getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah.
Real estate's getting more and more expensive.
Right.
So to produce theater in New York, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, where you had, I think, a lot more independent theaters being able to just do their little black box show for like nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking at, $25,000 to $6,000 a week to put up a show. And then, you're on you want good actors, so you want equity actors.
Yeah.
But you can only get them at these sort of showcase contracts, so you can only do so many shows, and you can only charge $18 a ticket. So for the theater, there's a lack of profitability, which lies in film and this and that, so people can kind of make money.
Yeah.
Theater ultimately has to be funded. It needs donors. It needs people that believe in that art form. So until we end up figuring out ways to really make that a real profitable thing, as you saw happen with films like in the 80s, you used to have all these artists making films, and they just kind of, these side things, then they saw how much money they could make. And then you saw the studios kind of take over and things, and then there's a renaissance, and you had the indie films, and so now it's kind of balancing this and that. But in theater, you need so much, you need donors, you need help, because it's not profitable. Yeah. There's no profit in it financially. Yeah. Huge profit in it, on a human level.
Yeah. And it's tough to talk around the economics of that impact, because it's not as that dollar doesn't stretch.
Right. And so you start to see some artists, and back when New York was a different type of town, there was, people were doing shows in what they would call seedy parts. Downtown was not downtown, and that's where all the theaters were, where people were doing off and off Broadway. That's expensive now, and so you go out to Brooklyn. That's expensive now. You're starting to see artists go to Detroit.
Yeah.
Look what happened in Williamsburg. At one point, that was a bad part of town.
Yeah.
All the artists go there. They create art. They make it cool. As soon as it's cool, then all the people with money want to go there. And then it's not cool anymore, so they find the next cool area. And that's, and theater kind of works on that sense too, as far as like the theater we do, finding a place where we can do that work affordably. And there's some people that are real smart about it too, and create, you can create things on a budget, but
I think I really appreciate that you talked about the kind of the economics of it, because I think, it is a greatly, still, I think it is a grossly underappreciated art form in that it doesn't have the same theater doesn't have the same visibility, right? It doesn't have the same resources financially as film, and yet
because it only lives once.
Exactly.
There's no residual. You can't just sell it to HBO or whatnot.
Well, and doing 8 shows a week is difficult. It's emotionally draining. Like all these things that as actors that you do, you are putting yourself in a place of vulnerability that, unless someone puts those shoes on, can't really understand or comprehend.
But props to like NBC, whether or not you like the Peter Pan or the whatnot, someone investing a lot of money and getting, going out and finding people that believe in that to do a one night only. Yeah. And again, there's cameras and this and that, but it's live, and they're trying to make it work. Yeah. I don't know if that's the answer, but
I think
somebody's trying. That's
great. And they've been doing Saturday Night Live for 40 years, right? Almost 40 years, right? So I think that there's definitely a place for that, and I would love to see a resurgence of live, if they can do live television.
I would love to see that show or somebody new start something up that is like what Saturday Night Live used to be like.
Sure.
Like, watch the first season of that.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, it was awesome. It was fantastic. Michael, I wanna get deep here into the rapid fire questions. Okay.
All right.
So this is
like, what do I say to God when I get to
exactly
heaven?
This is like really deep, and I don't want to say that this is going to impact generations to come, but probably that's going to happen. So we'll see how this goes. I asked these same 5 questions to everybody. All right.
Where did you get the questions? Who created it?
The internet.
Okay.
All right. So, Michael,
Yes.
if you had superhero powers, what would they be?
This is a no-brainer.
Okay.
This is just absolute no-brainer.
And
Teleportation.
there it is.
You know what I mean?
Teleportation. Michael said it here first, guys. You're at teleportation.
Boom,
There it
I'm
is.
home. I'm in bed. Oh,
Right.
you know what? I need to go to Hawaii. Hawaii. You know what I mean? Like, that's it.
That's it.
It's to waste so much time trying to get places.
I know, especially here, right? On the 6 train, rush hour. All right. Can you juggle?
I'm good for like,
Yeah.
so not really. But I
No,
can
you
get,
can't
but I
juggle.
can get like 6.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
like I
good.
can get more than like.
Okay, that's cool. I'm not tooting my own horn, but and I didn't write this question because I was going to answer this, but when I was in 4th grade, my 4th grade teacher, Mr. Duffy, if you're watching this, Mr. Duffy, hello, it's good to see you. He said, Paul, if you learn to juggle, I will take you to the Dairy Queen. And I said, I am learning to juggle. And
What'd you get? Did you get a Blizzard? Peanut butter parfait?
I don't remember, whatever. But the point is that I can today still juggle. I can juggle like spheres, beanbags, whatever. I can't do fire. I can't do sticks
But
either.
you know what? You're a
But I can-
father. You know what I mean?
right, but it's
You
a
don't
cool
need-
trick, man.
You don't
It's like
need
you're
to be doing
kid-
knives and sticks.
You don't.
and
No,
stuff.
you
Come
don't.
on.
Absolutely not. But the kids dig it, though. I will tell you that. All right. Are you a good...
So do you have that question in there just so you can?
No, I
tell
didn't
Mr.
do that. I
Duffy
said I didn't
question
do
on
that.
it?
No, I didn't do that. But listen,
juggle,
no,
like, I don't
listen.
know where-
I want to talk about
by
how
the
great
way,
I
I
am. Listen,
can.
listen. I'm really talented. I want to talk about my talents.
Do you own a
Are
coffee
you-
shop? Well, guess what? I do. It's called Birch Coffee.
Are you a good dancer?
It's up for debate. It's pretty subjective.
Are you
question.
a good dancer?
I like to think by myself when I'm in my own world. I'm not a good like partner dancer.
Okay.
You know, I need freedom to make up my own moves and do that thing. And
Do you want to show us something?
I mean, do we have any music? I mean, we got like, is this
You
holiday
got
thing
holiday
going on?
music
Is this
if
like
you want. It's like
Sinatra?
Christmas. It's like Sinatra. Can you move to Sinatra? Show us something.
This is horrible. Come on.
Just, I mean, if you don't have to. If you want to, you can dance. It's like you can just do like a little move, like some kind of a move. Sinatra's on. You decided that you're gonna just do a.
I don't have it. I mean, give me some. I need some James Brown or something going on here.
That's fine. It's fair enough.
I'm
It's good enough. No, it's
I
fine.
just don't want to embarrass myself to.
No, listen. I wouldn't. If someone asked me to dance like just like that, I would probably do something like I would probably go like one of these.
Yeah. But see, that's like a couple's
Again, do you want me to start
dance.
juggling too at the same time while I'm doing this? I can do that.
Well, guess what? I'm a ballerino.
All right. What's the furthest that you've traveled on a holiday? Let's use New York as your base. Furthest you've traveled from New York on a holiday.
From Colorado, I go home every year for Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, there was one year I spent a Thanksgiving in Paris when I lived in LA. I went LA to Paris.
That's a pretty big trip.
They don't really celebrate Thanksgiving over there, but we created one.
Yeah.
And we had people from all over the world, and we dressed up like pilgrims and Indians.
That's awesome. That's a good little jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say
We had
that's
Brits
a
and French,
Yeah.
South Americans there. It was a fun one.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna answer this for you because I think I know the answer. But you go ahead and answer it first. I'm gonna say, okay. What's your favorite sport?
To watch or to play?
Oh man. Okay, let's just say to watch.
Yeah, I would say it's football. Might as well check my fantasy team right now.
Who do you have starting quarterback today?
There's so many leagues. It's playoff time.
How many
It's
leagues are
crazy.
you in?
I know it's a problem. But no, but
Talk
I'm a
to me
die-
about this. How many leagues are you in?
I was in 3 fantasy
You're
leagues.
3 fantasy leagues.
Yeah. But I'm only in the playoffs in 2. But I'm a diehard Denver Bronco fan, and
Kind of a good year, good couple of years for you guys.
it's nice when you have a quarterback. You know, it
Or
helps.
the quarterback.
True.
You know, it's
Yeah.
not too bad for you guys.
So yeah, football. I would say I'm a football guy.
Do you remember Josh Woodbeck? Our friend Josh. Remember we watched, this was like back in the day, we watched a football game together at that bar down by John's.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we watched a Monday
Are
night
you a
game.
Vikings guy?
Well, because I'm from Minnesota. I'm not
Right.
I'm not a huge football fan, but Josh and I, we played in the fantasy league together for a couple seasons, and I played 2 seasons of fantasy football, and I was just furious because I literally, and I don't know if this is you, but I would sit at my computer watching the waiver wire just like religiously, just like waiting for something to happen so I could like make a move on somebody. I got to the playoffs, I got to like the finals, and then I lost. And it was at that point I said to Kara, I said, I can't do this anymore because I like you, I'm like, it is like a whole.
Let me tell you something.
I mean, please.
This year,
Yeah.
First, my big draft, my big league, okay? Number 1 draft pick,
Yeah.
it's Adrian Peterson. Now, how do you predict that? How are you? Now you got to start getting like FBI files and start background checks on these players and know what their family and domestic lives are like. I honestly, I think at some point too, somebody's going to be in a league that's big enough. They're going to end up like suing the union because, or somebody, you know what I mean? Because they're like, you wouldn't let my
you
player
impacted
play.
my league,
and
exactly.
You cost me.
This is
money.
what happened from your play.
Welcome to America.
That's it.
You know.
I'm with you. Listen, buddy. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking the time.
Hey, thank you for doing this, creating Birch and a place for artists and people all over to get together and drink amazing coffee. And it's always a joy come in. You and Jeremy are always around. I get to see your guys' faces. Sometimes your wife and the babies come by, and I don't even play. Look, the iced coffee, the hemp milk. The best in town. I tell everybody.
Thanks, man. I greatly appreciate it.
I'm really proud of you guys.
Thanks, man. Thank you.